My ungrateful son and his future in-laws decided to exclude my family from the wedding, so I threw them out of my house that they thought my son owned. My wife and I bought Kyle a 4-bedroom house in Pennsylvania right after he graduated college. He wanted to stay in the area, got a good job, and we figured it was a smart investment. We live in New Jersey and work in Manhattan, so it gave us a weekend place too. The arrangement was simple. We pay the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and all maintenance. Kyle covers utilities and his own groceries. It worked perfectly for 3 years. Then he met Ashley. She seemed nice at first, polite, friendly, ambitious. When they got engaged last spring, we were genuinely happy for him. She moved into the house, and we figured we'd all become one big family. That's when my wife suggested the barbecue. "Let's do a get-to-know-you thing," she said. "Break the ice before wedding planning gets crazy." We drove down on a Saturday, set up the grill, bought all the food, brought our daughter Katie, who drove up from Virginia. Ashley's parents and her 2 sisters came over around noon. Everything seemed great. Her dad and I talked about golf. My wife and Ashley's mom were laughing about something in the kitchen. The sisters were showing Katie their bridesmaid dress ideas. Then, about an hour in, my wife and daughter went inside to grab more drinks. They came back out 5 minutes later. My wife's face was completely white. Katie was fighting back tears. "We're leaving," my wife said quietly. "Right now." I tried to ask what happened, but she just shook her head and walked to the car. Katie followed. I made some excuse to everyone, grabbed my keys, and left. The entire drive back to New Jersey, they wouldn't speak, just stared out the windows. Finally, when we got home, Katie broke down. "They don't want us at the wedding, Dad. Any of us." My wife nodded, tears streaming down. Ashley's mom said we're not their kind of people, that we'd embarrass them in front of their family and friends. Kyle was standing right there and said nothing. I felt my hands shaking. "What?" Ashley said her family comes from old money and we're too working class. Her exact words were, "They wouldn't know which fork to use." I called Kyle immediately. "Kyle, what the hell is going on?" He sighed like I was inconveniencing him. "Her family has certain standards for the wedding. They don't think you guys would fit in with their social circle. It's nothing personal." "Nothing personal? We're your parents." "Dad, please don't make this harder. You're uninvited." "Mom, Katie, everyone. Just let it go." He hung up on me. I spent a week trying to process it. My wife cried every night. Katie stopped calling her brother. Then I drove back to Pennsylvania. I didn't call ahead, just showed up at the house on a Tuesday afternoon. When I walked in, Ashley's entire family was there. Her dad was stretched out on my couch watching ESPN. Her mom was rearranging the living room furniture. Both sisters were in the bedrooms upstairs. They'd all moved in. Ashley's dad looked up when I entered. "What are you doing here?" "I came to talk to my son." He stood up. "He's at work and you need to leave. This is our son-in-law's house and you're not welcome here." Ashley's mom walked in from the kitchen. "You weren't invited. Kyle told you to stay away." Something snapped. 30 days, I said calmly. "All of you out." Ashley's dad laughed. "Excuse me? You heard me. I'm selling this house. You have 30 days to get out or I'll have the sheriff remove you." Ashley's mom actually smirked. "You can't kick us out of Kyle's house." I pulled out my phone and showed her the property deed I'd photographed years ago. "See that name? That's mine, not Kyle's. Mine. I own this house. Every mortgage payment, every tax bill, every repair, all me." The smirk vanished. Kyle has been living here rent-free as a favor, but favors end when you disrespect my family. I walked to the kitchen where I'd left a realtor's card on the counter that morning. "House goes on the market tomorrow. Call your son-in-law and tell him he's got 30 days to figure out his living situation." Ashley's mom's face went pale. She grabbed her husband's arm. "Don't let him leave. Not yet." Her voice shook. "If you sell this house, if you kick Kyle out, he'll tell everyone the truth." I stopped. "What truth?" She looked at her husband, then back at me. "About why we really don't want you at the wedding. About what your wife did to our family 20 years ago." My mind raced. "My wife knew these people? You're blaming the wrong parent," Ashley's dad said quietly. "And Kyle's known for months." The drive back to New Jersey felt like it took forever. I mean, it's only supposed to be about an hour and a half, but my hands were locked on that steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind kept replaying what Ashley's mother had said. "What your wife did to our family 20 years ago." 20 years. That would have been right around when we first got married. Maybe a little before. What the hell could she have done? My wife's the kindest person I know. She volunteers at the food bank every Thursday. She bakes cookies for the neighbors at Christmas. She cried when we had to put down our dog 3 years ago and still tears up when she sees his photo. I pulled into our driveway around 8 at night. The lights were on in the living room. Through the window, I could see my wife sitting on the couch, just staring at nothing. When I walked in, she looked up at me with these red, swollen eyes. "What did they say?" she asked. I sat down next to her. "Ashley's mom said you did something to their family 20 years ago. She said that's why they don't want us at the wedding." I watched her face carefully. "Do you know these people? Do you have any connection to them at all?" Her face went completely pale, like all the color just drained out. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked down at her hands. "I knew Ashley's mother in college," she said quietly. "We were roommates, freshman year at Rutgers." "You were roommates?" I couldn't believe it. "And you didn't recognize her at the barbecue?" "It's been over 25 years. People change. She looks different, heavier, different hair." She wiped at her eyes. "We drifted apart after freshman year. Had some minor disagreement about something stupid. I don't even remember what. We just stopped talking and requested different roommates for sophomore year." "What kind of disagreement?" "I honestly don't know. Something about borrowing clothes clothes without asking? Or maybe it was about a boy one of us liked. I really can't remember. It was so long ago and it seemed so trivial. She looked at me. Why would she hold on to that for 25 years? She said you did something to their family, not just to her, their family. I leaned forward. Think. Did anything else happen? Anything involving her parents or siblings or anyone? She shook her head, looking genuinely confused. No, I met her parents once when they helped us move into the dorm. They seemed nice. We didn't have any problems. I swear, I have no idea what they're talking about. I wanted to believe her, and honestly, she looked as confused as I felt, but something wasn't adding up. My phone rang around 9 that evening. Kyle. I answered on the second ring. You can't do this, Dad, he said immediately. No hello, no how are you? You can't just kick us out and sell the house. Watch me. This isn't fair. Ashley's family is going through a rough time right now, and they need a place to stay. Then they can rent an apartment like normal people. I kept my voice calm. Kyle, I need you to tell me something. Ashley's mom said something about what your mother did to their family 20 years ago. What does she mean? What do you know? There was silence on the other end. I could hear him breathing. Kyle, I can't talk about this right now. Yes, you can. You're my son. Tell me what's going on. Dad, just drop it, okay? Just let us have the house and everything will be fine. What does that even mean? And why would you let them uninvite your own mother from your wedding over something that supposedly happened decades ago? He hung up. I stared at my phone. My own son just hung up on me. Again. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I went down to the basement. We have boxes and boxes of old stuff down there. Things from college, from when the kids were little, photo albums, yearbooks, all of it. I started pulling out my wife's college stuff. There it was. Her Rutgers yearbook from freshman year. I flipped through it until I found the student housing section. And there they were. My wife and Ashley's mother, both 18 years old, smiling in their dorm room. The caption said, Christine Miller and Jennifer Bradford, Demarest Hall, room 214. Jennifer Bradford. That was Ashley's mom's maiden name, I guess. They looked close in the photo. My wife had her arm around Jennifer's shoulders. They were laughing at something. I kept digging through the boxes and found more photos. The two of them at what looked like a football game, at a party, studying together in the library. They weren't just roommates who tolerated each other, they were friends. Good friends. So what happened? Katie showed up the next morning around 10. She let herself in with her key, found me in the kitchen drinking my 4th cup of coffee. Dad, you look terrible. Didn't sleep much. She poured herself some coffee and sat down across from me. I've been thinking about this all night. Something's not right about this whole thing. You're telling me? No, I mean really not right. Like calculated. She pulled out her phone. I started looking into Ashley's family last night. You know what I found? I shook my head. Her family used to be loaded, like seriously wealthy. They owned this huge textile manufacturing business, had factories in Pennsylvania and North Carolina. The company was called Bradford Mills. Used to be? Yeah, it went bankrupt in 2003. The whole thing collapsed. They lost everything. She showed me her phone screen. It was an old newspaper article about the bankruptcy. Look at this. It says the company had been struggling for a few years but really fell apart when they couldn't secure funding to modernize their equipment. They applied for this massive loan and got rejected. 6 months later, they filed for bankruptcy. My wife walked into the kitchen. She'd clearly been crying again. What are you two talking about? Katie looked at her. Mom, did you ever work in finance or investment stuff in college? What? No. Why? Did Dad's father work in finance? My wife paused. She was pouring herself coffee, but her hand stopped mid-pour. Oh my God. What? I asked. She set down the coffee pot. I did a summer internship after freshman year. My dad was working at this investment firm in Manhattan, and he got me an internship there. Just filing papers, answering phones, getting coffee for people. Basic intern stuff. What year? Katie asked. Summer of 1999. Katie and I looked at each other. Mom, what was the name of the firm? Morrison and Associates. It's not around anymore. They merged with some bigger company in like 2005 or something. I felt something click in my brain. Did Morrison and Associates do business lending? Yeah, they had a whole division for that. Why? Katie was already typing on her phone. Mom, did you ever hear the name Bradford Mills while you were working there? I don't. Wait, she sat down. Oh God. Yes, there was this whole thing. Some big loan application that the board was reviewing. I remember because Mr. Morrison was really stressed about it. He was in meetings for days. Do you remember what happened with it? I asked. She thought for a moment. They rejected it. I remember Mr. Morrison saying it was too risky, that the textile industry was dying, and modernization wouldn't save it. He said it wasn't personal, just business. Mom, Katie said slowly, did you have anything to do with that decision? What? No, I was 18 years old. I was literally just filing papers and making coffee runs. I didn't even sit in on the meetings. Why? I pulled out my phone. I need to call your dad. My father-in-law, Richard, picked up on the 3rd ring. He's semi-retired now, but still does consulting work for a few investment firms. Hey, Richard, quick question. Do you remember working at Morrison and Associates back in the late 90s? Of course, that was a good firm. Why? Do you remember a company called Bradford Mills? They applied for a loan around 1999 or 2000. There was a pause. Bradford Mills. Yeah, I remember that one. Textile manufacturing, right? We rejected that application. It was the right call too. Company went under a few years later. You sat on the board that made that decision? I was one of several board members, yeah. We all voted on it. It was unanimous. The company was already struggling, and the industry trends were clear. Giving them money would have just delayed the inevitable. He paused. Why are you asking about this? I explained the whole situation. Ashley's family, the wedding, the accusations, everything. When I finished, Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, your wife had absolutely nothing to do with that decision. She was an intern. She wasn't even in the room when we discussed it. Hell, she probably didn't even know which companies we were reviewing at any given time. All she did was organize files and answer phones. But she was there, at the firm. So were 30 other people. That doesn't mean she had influence over board decisions. Look, I'm telling you right now, there is zero chance your wife affected that loan rejection. Zero. I thanked him and hung up. Then I looked at my wife and Katie. They blame you, I said to my wife. Ashley's family lost their business when that loan got rejected, and somehow they think you had something to do with it. But I didn't. I know, but they don't care about the truth. They want someone to blame. Katie leaned back in her chair. So they've been planning this? Like for years? They found out Kyle was your son and decided to use him to get revenge? It's starting to look that way. My phone rang. Kyle again. This time he sounded panicked. Dad, we have a problem. We have several problems. The mortgage payment is due in 3 days and I don't have the money. I already spent my savings on the wedding deposit. That's your problem, not mine. Dad, please. Ashley's family is pressuring me to fix this. Her dad is saying if I can't provide housing for them, they're going to pull their investment in me. What investment? They were going to help me buy into a business. But now they're saying if I don't figure out the housing situation, they're walking away from the deal. I almost laughed. Kyle, they're using you. No, they're not. They believe in me. They see my potential. They're using you to hurt us. Can't you see that? You're wrong. But his voice cracked when he said it. I hung up and told my wife what he'd said. She just put her face in her hands. 3 days later, Kyle called again. I almost didn't answer, but Katie convinced me to. Dad, he said. His voice was different, quieter. Ashley's family said they have proof about Mom. Proof of what? That she was involved in the loan decision, that she influenced the board. Your mother was 18 years old and filing papers. She had zero influence. They said they found photos from a company event. Photos of Mom at the investment firm, talking to board members, at meetings. Being present at an event doesn't mean she had influence. I was present at my office Christmas party last year, but that doesn't mean I run the company. Dad, he trailed off. Can you just meet with them, face to face? Let them show you what they have? Only if you stop this nonsense and tell me the complete truth about what they've offered you. Long pause. I can't. Then no meeting. Dad, wait. Okay. I could hear him breathing hard. Ashley's family promised me a job at their current investment company, 6 figures plus bonuses, plus equity in the company after 5 years. My stomach dropped. What? They said if I helped them, if I cut you guys off, if I made you feel the pain they felt when they lost everything, they'd set me up for life. I'd never have to worry about money again. Kyle, they lost their business over 20 years ago. Your mother had nothing to do with it. This is revenge for something that wasn't her fault. But they have proof, Dad. They showed me photos. Mom was there. Being an intern at a company is not the same as making executive decisions. Your grandfather already confirmed your mother had nothing to do with that loan rejection. They said Grandpa's lying to protect her. Kyle, listen to yourself. You're throwing away your family for people who are manipulating you. I already quit my job, he said quietly. What? Last week. I accepted their offer. I'm supposed to start in Connecticut next month, after the wedding. I felt like I'd been punched. You quit your job? Yeah, for a job that's contingent on you destroying your relationship with your family? They said it's not about destroying anything. It's about justice, about making things right. Kyle, when did you know the truth about the house? Another long pause. What do you mean? When did you know that I owned the house, not you? I've always known. Then why did you tell Ashley's family you owned it? I didn't. Don't lie to me. He sighed. I wanted to impress them, okay? Ashley's family is successful and sophisticated, and I wanted them to think I had my life together. I told Ashley I owned a house, and by the time I realized they thought I actually owned it outright, it was too late to correct them without looking stupid. So you just let them move in. They needed somewhere to stay temporarily. Their lease was up and they were between places. I thought it would be fine for a few weeks. And now you're all about to be homeless because I'm selling. Dad, please, can you just give us 2 more weeks? That's all I'm asking. I thought about it. My realtor had called that morning with an offer. A cash offer, actually? Tech executive relocating to Pennsylvania for work, wanted to close fast. Could have the whole thing wrapped up in 3 weeks. I'll tell you what, I said. I'll delay signing the contract, but only if you, Ashley, and her parents meet with me and your mother. All of us. Together. And they bring whatever proof they claim to have. I don't think they'll agree to that. Then start packing. He called back an hour later. They'll meet, but it has to be neutral territory. We agreed on a diner halfway between our houses, someplace called Rosie's off Route 78. The meeting was set for 3 days later, Saturday afternoon at 2. Those 3 days were hell. My wife barely ate. Katie stayed with us, sleeping in her old room, trying to keep spirits up, but we all knew this was going to be ugly. Saturday came. We got to the diner 15 minutes early. I'd asked Richard to come with us and he agreed. He brought a briefcase full of old documents from Morrison & Associates, board meeting minutes from 1999 and 2000, loan application records, everything he could find related to the Bradford Mills case. Kyle and Ashley arrived exactly at 2. Her parents pulled up right behind them. We all filed into the diner like we were heading to a funeral. The hostess looked nervous seeing all of us, but led us to a big booth in the back. Kyle wouldn't look at us. He just stared at the table. Ashley sat next to him, her face blank. Her parents slid into the booth across from my wife and me. Richard sat at the end with his briefcase. The waitress came over. Nobody ordered food, just coffee. Lots of coffee. Ashley's father spoke first. His name was Christopher, I'd learned. "We don't have all day, so let's make this quick." "Fine by me," I said. I gestured to Richard. "This is my father-in-law, Richard. He worked at Morrison & Associates when your loan application was rejected. He was actually on the board that made that decision." Christopher's jaw tightened. "We know who he is." Richard opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "These are the meeting minutes from the board sessions where we discussed your company's loan application. As you can see, there were 7 board members present, all senior partners. The vote was unanimous to reject the application based on industry analysis, your company's existing debt load, and projected market trends for textile manufacturing." He slid the documents across the table. Jennifer, Ashley's mom, picked them up and started reading. Her hands were shaking. "As you can also see," Richard continued, "there is no mention of any intern, including my daughter, anywhere in these documents. Interns were not privy to board discussions. They had no access to confidential loan applications. They certainly had no vote or influence over the decisions." "But she was there," Jennifer said. Her voice was sharp. "I saw the photos online from a company event. She was there talking to board members." "The summer networking mixer," my wife said quietly. "I remember that. It was in August. They invited all the interns. We had to make small talk with the partners and board members. It was basically a formality. I probably said hello to a dozen people that night." "You were there," Jennifer repeated. "You were part of it." I was 18 years old and terrified. I barely said 2 words to anyone. I spent most of the night hiding by the appetizer table. Richard pulled out another document. "This is a list of everyone who had access to confidential loan applications during that period. Interns are not on this list. As an intern, your wife would have filed general correspondence, answered phones, and maybe organized some non-confidential files. That's it." Christopher's face was red. "You're all lying. You're protecting her." "I'm showing you documentary evidence," Richard said calmly. "Facts, not feelings." Jennifer's eyes were filling with tears. "We lost everything. Do you know what that feels like? We went from having 3 homes to living in a 1-bedroom apartment. My daughters had to transfer to public school. We had to sell my mother's jewelry just to pay for groceries." My wife reached across the table like she was going to touch Jennifer's hand, but Jennifer jerked away. "I'm sorry that happened to you," my wife said. "I really am, but I had nothing to do with it. I was just an intern." "You were there," Jennifer said again, like it was the only thing that mattered. "Being present doesn't equal responsibility," I said. "By that logic, the janitor who cleaned the office was also responsible for your loan rejection." Christopher slammed his hand on the table. "Don't you dare compare my wife to a janitor. I'm making a point about your logic, not about her." Richard pulled out one more document. "This is the industry analysis report that was presented to the board. It predicted the decline of domestic textile manufacturing due to overseas competition and changing trade policies. Every single prediction in this report came true. Your company wasn't rejected because of bias or sabotage. It was rejected because the investment was unsound. You would have lost that money and still ended up bankrupt." "You don't know that," Christopher said. "Actually, we do. 3 other textile companies in your region that did receive financing during that same period all filed for bankruptcy within 4 years. The market fundamentals were clear." Jennifer was crying. Now, real heavy sobs. "I spent 20 years blaming her. I saw her name on that firm's intern list and I thought she must have influenced them somehow. She was your daughter." She looked at Richard. "You're on the board. I thought she must have said something to you about us." "About me?" Richard shook his head. "I didn't even know you two knew each other until this week. She never mentioned your name at work. She was just trying to get through her summer internship without screwing up." Ashley spoke up for the first time. "But you knew Kyle's family had a connection to our family. You must have." My wife looked at her. "I didn't recognize your mother at the barbecue. 25 years is a long time. People change. If I'd known who you were, don't you think I would have said something?" "Maybe you were hiding it," Ashley said. Her voice was cold. "Maybe you knew exactly who we were and you wanted to see us suffer even more." "That's ridiculous," Katie cut in. She'd been quiet until now. "My mom didn't even know you existed until a few months ago. How could she be orchestrating some long revenge plot against people she forgot about decades ago?" Ashley's expression didn't change. She just stared at Katie with these flat, emotionless eyes. And that's when I knew there was something else going on here. "Ashley," I said, "how did you and Kyle meet?" "Coffee shop near his office," Kyle said quickly. "I've told you this." "I'm asking Ashley." She looked at me. Same answer. "Really? Because here's what I'm thinking. You've spent months planning this wedding. You've convinced Kyle to cut off his entire family. You moved your whole family into his house. You got him to quit his job for a position at your family's company." I leaned forward. "When exactly did you figure out that Kyle was my wife's son?" Her expression flickered, just for a second. "Answer him," her father said. Ashley took a breath. 6 months before we officially met." Kyle's head snapped toward her. "What?" "I was looking through my mom's old college photos. I do that sometimes when she's having a bad day, trying to cheer her up. I saw a photo of her with your mom. There was a name tag in the photo. I Googled the name, found your mom's Facebook, saw she had a son named Kyle who lived in Pennsylvania and worked in finance." She said it all very matter-of-factly. I created a dating profile, found you on the same app, learned your routine, the coffee shop, the gym, the grocery store you use. I made sure to be there at the right times. You stalked me? Kyle looked like he'd been slapped. I researched you. You manipulated me. I got to know you. Oh my God. Kyle stood up from the booth. This whole thing was fake? Our entire relationship? Not all of it. Which parts were real, Ashley? Tell me. Which parts? She didn't answer. Did you ever actually love me, or was I just part of your sick revenge fantasy? She looked at her parents. I did develop feelings. For you, that part wasn't planned. Wasn't planned! Kyle's voice was getting louder. Other people in the diner were starting to look over. You planned everything else though, right? Every date, every conversation, every time you said you loved me, that was all just strategy? Christopher stood up too. Kyle, calm down. Ashley did what she had to do to protect this family. Protect the family from what? From people who had nothing to do with your bankruptcy? They owe us, Jennifer said. She wasn't crying anymore. Her face had gone hard. They owe us for what we lost. They don't owe you anything, Kyle shouted. You lost a business because you couldn't compete in a changing market. That's not anyone's fault. We coached Ashley on what to say to you, Christopher said. His voice was calm, almost proud. How to make you fall for her. How to make you trust her. How to slowly turn you against your family. Kyle stared at him. You're actually bragging about this? We're getting justice. You're destroying a kid's life, I said. I was standing now too. Kyle is 25 years old. He's just starting out, and you're using him like a weapon because you can't accept that your business failed for legitimate reasons. The job offer was real, Christopher said to Kyle. That part was genuine. You really do have a position waiting for you at our firm. 6 figures like we said, but the offer is contingent on you cutting ties with your family completely. Public statement at the wedding, announcing that you're disowning them, that you're choosing us over them. That's the price. Kyle looked at Ashley. And you were okay with this? She hesitated, then nodded. What about the pregnancy? Kyle asked suddenly. Last month you told me you were pregnant. Was that fake too? I needed to keep you committed to the wedding, she said quietly. You were starting to have doubts, I could tell. So I told you I was pregnant to lock you in. Jesus Christ. Kyle took off his engagement ring, just pulled it right off his finger. He placed it on the table between them. We're done. The wedding is off. Everything is off. Kyle, wait. Ashley reached for him. He jerked his arm away. Don't touch me. Christopher grabbed Kyle's shoulder. You walk away from this and you lose everything. The job, the money, all of it. Kyle shoved his hand off. I don't want your blood money. You're making a mistake. No, I made a mistake trusting you people. I'm fixing it. Kyle walked toward the door. I stood up to follow him, but my wife grabbed my arm. Let him go. Give him a minute. Through the diner window, I could see Kyle standing in the parking lot, his hands on his knees, like he was trying not to throw up. Ashley started to get up, but her mother pulled her back down. Let him walk away. He's not worth it anymore. Mom, I love him. No, you don't. You did your job. You hurt them like they hurt us. That's all that matters. Is it though? Ashley's voice cracked. Because I do love him. I didn't mean to, but I do. And now he hates me. You'll get over it, Christopher said. He was gathering his things like this was just another business meeting that hadn't gone his way. There are other fish in the sea. Jennifer started screaming at my wife. I mean, full on screaming. This is your fault. All of it. You and your father destroyed our lives. My wife just sat there, tears running down her face. I'm sorry you lost your business. I really am. But I didn't do anything to you. You existed, Jennifer screamed. You were there. You were part of that world while we were losing everything. That's not how causation works, Richard said quietly. Get out. Jennifer pointed at the door. All of you get out. You're cursed. Your whole family is cursed. We left. What else could we do? As we walked to our cars, I could see Kyle still in the parking lot, sitting on the curb now, his head in his hands. I walked over to him. Kyle. He didn't look up. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I sat down next to him. What made you realize they were lying to you? I didn't realize. I ignored all the signs because I wanted what they were offering. The money, the status, the life. I wanted it so bad I didn't care who I hurt to get it. He finally looked at me. His eyes were red. I believed them when they said Mom destroyed their family. I wanted to believe them because it justified what I was doing. You were being manipulated. I let myself be manipulated. There's a difference. He wiped his face. Is it true? About the house? Do I really have 1 week? I thought about it. The cash offer, the contract sitting on my desk at home, the easy solution. You have 5 days, I said. The new owners want to close fast. He nodded. Okay, Kyle, about your student loans. I'll figure it out. I made this mess. I'll clean it up. Over the next 5 days, Kyle moved out of the house. I drove down to help him one afternoon. He'd rented a small apartment in a cheaper part of town, 1 bedroom, maybe 600 square feet. We loaded boxes into a U-Haul in silence. Ashley's been trying to contact me, he said at one point. Calls, texts, emails. What does she say? That she's sorry, that her parents made her do it, that if I just give her another chance, she'll prove she really loves me. He taped up another box. She sent me a long email last night. Said her parents had been planning this for years, that when they found out through Facebook that you and Mom had a son, they started strategizing. They looked at Ashley's dating preferences, found guys who matched, and when they saw I was on the same dating apps, they pushed her to target me specifically. Jesus. She said she felt terrible about it at first, but her parents kept telling her it was necessary, that our family owed them a debt, that this was the only way to collect. He carried a box to the truck. She said she really did fall in love with me somewhere along the way, that it stopped being about revenge and started being real. She wants me to forgive her. What did you say back? Nothing. I blocked her on everything this morning. The house sale closed a week later, smooth as could be. The new owners were nice, a young couple with a baby on the way. They were excited about the neighborhood and the school district. I gave them the keys and walked away with a check that covered every penny I'd put into the place plus a decent profit. I took part of that money and paid off Kyle's remaining student loans. He had about $30,000 left. I did it without telling him, just sent the payment to his loan servicer. He called me 2 weeks later when he got the confirmation. Dad, you didn't have to do that. I wanted to. I don't deserve it. Kyle, you screwed up. You let people manipulate you. You hurt us. But you're still my son and I'm not going to watch you drown in debt because you made a mistake. He was quiet for a moment. Thank you. You're welcome. Ashley tried contacting him maybe a dozen times over the next month. The messages became increasingly desperate, then angry. Accusations that he'd used her, that he'd never really loved her, that he was just like his family, cold and heartless. Kyle showed me some of them. They were unhinged. Then one day she called from a different number. Kyle answered before realizing it was her. I'm pregnant, she said. Kyle put her on speaker so I could hear. We were having lunch at a diner near his new apartment. No, you're not, Kyle said calmly. You lied about being pregnant before, remember? This time it's real. I have a test. I can send you a photo. Send it. She sent a photo of a positive pregnancy test, but Kyle just zoomed in on it and showed me the date stamp in the corner. The photo was taken 3 months ago. Ashley, this is the same photo you sent me last time. Same date, same test. You're not pregnant. She hung up. That was the last time she contacted him directly. But 2 weeks after that, she sent a message through her sister. Just a short text. You ruined my life. I hope you're happy. Kyle deleted it without responding. The job offer from Ashley's family's firm was officially rescinded via email. Very professional, very cold. Due to recent developments and changing business priorities, we regret to inform you that the position we discussed is no longer available. Kyle took a job at a mid-sized accounting firm in Philadelphia. The pay was decent, nothing like what Ashley's family had promised, but it was honest work with room for growth. He rented the small apartment month to month at first, then signed a year lease when he realized he liked the neighborhood. My wife started seeing a therapist. The whole thing with Jennifer and the accusations had really messed with her head. She kept saying she felt guilty even though she knew logically she hadn't done anything wrong. 25 years, she said one night. She spent 25 years hating me for something I didn't do. That's so sad. It's sad, I agreed. But it's not your fault. Katie came home for Thanksgiving. We all sat around the table, Kyle included, and tried to act normal. It was awkward at first. Kyle barely spoke, but by dessert we were laughing about something stupid Katie's cat had done, and it felt almost normal again. I'm sorry, Kyle said suddenly. We all looked at him. I know I keep saying it, but I mean it. I was an idiot. I got seduced by money and status, and I threw away the people who actually loved me for people who were using me. I'm sorry. We know, my wife said. She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. We forgive you. About a month after that, Kyle started dating someone new, a woman named Jessica who worked in HR at his company. She seemed nice, normal, no secret agendas or revenge plots, just a regular person looking for a regular relationship. Ashley sent one final message in early December. It came through Facebook Messenger from a new account she'd created. Kyle showed it to me. I see you've moved on. I hope she makes you happy. I hope you never think about me. I hope you forget I existed, because I can't forget you. What we had was real, even if it started fake. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I destroyed it because I let my parents convince me that revenge mattered more than love. I hate myself for it. I'll always hate myself for it. But most of all, I hate that I still love you and you don't even care. Kyle read it, then closed his laptop. She's right about one thing. I don't care anymore.